In the late 1990s, a man could frequently be seen driving a Chevrolet Caprice through the affluent streets of Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. He spent his days cycling between the gym, luxury massage parlors, and a seaside villa. This man was responsible for the deaths of an estimated 300,000 people. Yet on August 16, 2003, Idi Amin died in a Jeddah hospital from kidney failure, having never faced an international tribunal or spent a single day in prison. This raises a question of how one of the 20th century's most notoriously vicious dictators simply walked away. Idi Amin survived his reign because he was shielded, armed, and funded by the same international powers that would later recoil of his name. To understand his rise, we have to look at the map of pre-independence Uganda. The British colonial government had drawn up an artificial nation, splitting the territory between a favored Protestant population in the south and Muslim and Nilotic communities in the north. Out of that marginalized northern region emerged a young soldier named Idi Amin. He joined the British colonial army, the King's African Rifles, and rose rapidly through the ranks as an athletic and obedient officer. But he also possessed a capacity for extreme violence. In 1962, on the verge of Ugandan independence, Amin was sent to quell a cattle raiding dispute. Instead, he ordered his platoon to massacre scores of unarmed villagers. This should have resulted in a swift court-martial. Instead, the British colonial governor, Sir Frederick Crawford, suppressed the investigation to avoid a political scandal on the eve of the country's self-rule. This calculated silence proved that mass murder was a negotiable political expense, as long as it solved a problem for the people in power. After Uganda gained independence, Amin became the military enforcer for Prime Minister Milton Obote. The two worked closely together, even running a gold and ivory smuggling ring, while the government grew increasingly oppressive. But Amin eventually turned on his mentor. In January 1971, while Obote was attending a conference in Singapore, Amin launched a military coup and seized control of the capital. Britain and Israel quietly supported the takeover. Both nations viewed the former colonial soldier as a pliable asset who would protect their interests against Obote's socialist leanings. That calculation collapsed almost immediately. When London and Tel Aviv refused to sell Amin advanced weaponry for regional attacks, he turned to Libya's Muammar Gaddafi and the Soviet Union to secure a massive supply line of military hardware. In their rush to secure influence, these global powers turned a violent commander into a ruler with the full destructive capacity of a modern state. He wasted no time using that power. In 1972, Amin issued a decree to expel over 50,000 ethnic Asians, many of whom controlled the country's industrial and commercial trade. Their businesses were handed over to Amin's military loyalists, who lacked any experience in trade. Factories sat idle, farm machinery broke down, and extreme inflation hollowed out the national currency. To maintain control, Amin established the State Research Bureau. This secret police force, led by British expat Bob Astles, systematically kidnapped and murdered tens of thousands of political rivals and religious leaders. As the bodies piled up, Amin's behavior grew deeply erratic, a decline likely caused by untreated tertiary syphilis. He sent telegrams praising Adolf Hitler and harbored international terrorists during the 1976 Entebbe hijacking. The international press often treated him as a buffoon, mocking his erratic posturing as the King of Scotland. But behind the absurd letters was a highly organized, state-sponsored slaughter. By 1978, the regime was buckling. Facing mutinies and a ruined economy, Amin attempted to shore up dynastic loyalty by ordering his troops to invade neighboring Tanzania. President Julius Nyerere mobilized a fierce counterattack, supported by a massive contingent of Ugandan exiles determined to remove the dictator. Amin's forces collapsed at the Battle of Lukaya. Years of purging competent officers and replacing them with corrupt loyalists had left the Ugandan military incapable of standing against a disciplined army. As enemy troops reached the capital, Amin fled by helicopter. He left behind a shattered nation that would immediately plunge into a new 5-year civil war. Idi Amin remains a warning about the cost of geopolitical convenience. When global powers prioritize strategic assets over human rights, entire nations